Hello and welcome to our third video about Line Designer and Teamcenter. In this video we will show you the Teamcenter workflow process. First, we will explain what the workflow process is, and then we will show you how to use it, and in the end we will show you how you can create a simple customized process. The workflow process is an essential component of Teamcenter to manage product data and assuring quality control in development. It enables project managers to view and control the work of their staff, and, if it's necessary, order a rework or improvements. The process can be split up in 3 phases. The first phase is the development phase. While in the development phase, a file can be created and edited, the actual workflow process has not started yet. The development phase ends when the editor declares that the file is finished. The second phase is the waiting phase. The staff member starts a new workflow process to get his file to the approved status. The file and all its subsets can no longer be edited, and also no new subsets can be added. The project manager and/or co-workers, depending on the company guidelines, can now test the developed files against the requirements and determine if everything has been done correctly. If in the eyes of the tester the requirements are not fulfilled, they can reject the file, which is then pushed back into the development phase for improvement. When all needed sign-offs are given, the file advances to the last phase. The last phase is the end phase. The file has been developed and approved and can now be used as intended. It can no longer be modified in any way, which means that the development for this file is finished. If changes to the file are needed in the future, the file needs to be revisioned. This means that a new version of the file is created, with all information of the old file, and needs to pass through the workflow process as well, starting in the development phase. In the next part we will show you how to use the workflow process. To start a new workflow process, we log into Teamcenter with the user who owns the data we want to approve. When we arrive at our home folder, we navigate to the file we want to get approved and left-click the small arrow left of the file name to show the revisions of this file. Click on the revision you want to get approved to mark it. When you choose the revision, you can go to File, New, Workflow Process, use the shortcut Ctrl+P, or click New Workflow Process in the window on the right side. In the window that opens, you should first check the process name, which should be the same as the file you choose. After that, you can select a template for the workflow process. In this example, we will use a simplified template to approve or reject a file. After selecting the process, click on the button Assign all tasks. Here you can see a list of the different tasks used in the workflow process. In the list on the left side, left-click on the user icon under Review to assign users which shall review your file. To make things faster, we use our own account as the reviewing user. Normally, you would choose your supervisor or colleagues to check your work. After you selected a user, you can decide if the decision of this person is required to finish the process, or if the person just has the opportunity to decide. Then click on Add to add that user to the list. The user then appears on the list on the left side. The little checkbox behind the text Review indicates that a review decision of this person is necessary. You should always mark the checkbox Wait for undecided reviewers, because then the process only ends if all added users have performed their sign-off. After you added all users you want, click on OK on the bottom of the window. After the window is closed, you can see that your file is now marked with a B-colored circle to indicate that it is engaged in the workflow process. In the window on the right side, you can see that the file now has the release status pending, also indicated by the checkered flag icon on the file name. Since we used ourselves as a reviewer, we now go to our work list and check the folder Tasks to Perform. In this folder we can see the process we just created and in brackets behind the name the action we choose ourselves to perform. In the window on the right side we can see an overview over the process. On the bottom is a list of the files attached to the process, and on the top right we can click the button Perform to perform the sign-off of the file. We want to inspect the file, so we just mark it with a left click and click on the button Open in NX. After the file has opened in NX, we can see a small lock behind the file name. This indicates that we have a read-only access to the file and cannot modify it. After inspecting the file, we close it, go back to the Perform sign-off task, and click on Perform to decide if the file gets approved or rejected. In the new window we can see all users who have been selected for sign-off, if the sign-off from this person is necessary, and their decision. In this case we only choose our own account. To make our own decision we click on the tag No Decision in the row of our name. In the opened window we can decide to approve or reject the file. For now we will reject it with a little note. Then click OK. The process is configured so that it sends a notification to the user who started the process to inform him of the rejected file. But unfortunately, the Teamcenter mailing system is not enabled on our machine, so we just get an error. When we check back on our file, we can see that it's no longer marked with the workflow process icon and that it's not marked with the pending status anymore. When we reopened it in NX, we have write access to the file again as indicated by the missing lock behind the file name. We can now pretend that we made the necessary changes to the file and start a new workflow process. We configure the process exactly as before, selecting the same template and the same user for the review. The file then gets marked with the workflow process icon and the pending status again, and we can find the process on our work list in the task to perform. We click on Perform in the new window on No Decision and this time select the Approved button. We leave a small comment and click OK. Back at the file we can see that the file lost the workflow process icon and now has the release status approved. This means that this revision of the file cannot be modified anymore, which can also be seen when opening the file in NX. The small lock has reappeared. If we need to make changes to the file, we need to create a new revision. For that we click on the existing revision, go to File and then on Revise. In the new window, Teamcenter automatically fills in the fields and chooses a new revision, which is always the next letter in the alphabet depending on how many revisions of that file are already existing. You can give the revision a new name and a new description and then click on Finish. The new revision gets appended to the file and when opened in NX can also be modified as indicated by the missing lock behind the file name. In the next part we will show you how to create your own workflow process template. First we need to log into Teamcenter with a user that has a database administration, short DBA, access to Teamcenter. because only those users can use the needed application. Then you need to open the application called Workflow Designer, which can either be found on the bottom left or in the menu Add Application if you never used it before on this PC. In the Workflow Designer window, you can see the structure of the process templates. On the left side as a list and on the right side as a block diagram with the connections between the blocks. Right now you can see the process we used in the last part to approve the monorail component. By right-clicking on the box and selecting Task Properties, or by using the buttons on the bottom left, you can inspect the process and its components. On the top you can find a drop-down menu with all implemented processes. If you want to create a new process, you go to File and click on New Root Template. In the new dialog we give our new template a name and can choose if the template should be based on an existing template. For now we use an empty template and make sure that we are creating a process and not a task. Then we click OK. Our new process opens in the Workflow Designer window. We can already see two blocks, Start and Finish. As the block names indicate, the process starts at the Start block and ends at the Finish block. At the drop-down menu we can see the name of our process together with a small yellow and green triangle. This triangle indicates that this template is not available to users and can be modified. It is offline. When you want to modify a process, you have to make sure that you are in Edit mode and not in Browse mode, which can be selected by either right-clicking in the Workflow Designer window and hovering over Mode, or with the buttons in the toolbar at the top. When a file enters this process, we first want to give it the pending status to indicate that the file is being reviewed. For that we click on the checkered flag in the toolbar or right-click in the window and select Template and the Add Status task. We then double-click in the Workflow Designer window to create the block. We can open its properties with right-click and select Task Properties. We change the status to pending and check the action handlers to make sure they are creating and pending the right status. Additionally, we want to delete all statuses the file has at the moment. For that we first go to the Start on the left side and then click on the Action Handler drop-down menu and choose the action handler EPM set status. As argument we add -action and as value delete. Since we want to delete all statuses, we don't specify a status to delete, therefore all get deleted. Then click on Create, select the handler we created and move it to the top so that it gets executed first. Then we close the window. To connect two blocks, click and hold on Start and drag a line to the Add Status block and release the click when the cursor is over the block. We open the task properties again and give the block a new name. Next we are going to create a new review task. This task is responsible for the actual review process. We rename the block and then add some action handlers. Click on Start and choose the handlers EPM Inherit and EPM Set Rule Based Protection. These two handlers help to manage data and protect the process from unintended access. After selecting each handler, click on Create. Then close the window and double-click on the Review block. The block then opens and you can see that the Review task consists of two tasks: the Select Sign-Off team and the Perform Sign-Offs block. Here we can modify the first block to define which user can be chosen as reviewers. For that you select the Select Sign-Off team block and click the right button on the bottom left. In this window you can define different groups of users. All selected groups are able to be chosen as reviewers. Select the group or subgroup. Mark the checkbox Allow subgroup members if you want to enable all subgroups of a group. In this example, engineering, which has the subgroups Automation Designer and Line Designer, to be part of the process, and then click on Create. Close the window and then click on the process name at the top left, which will send you back to your process. Next we create a new Add Status block to give the file the approved status. We open the new block and set the release status to approved. And check if the action handlers use the right status. Then we connect the review and the Add Status block with a line. By default, this is a line which is followed when the result of the review task isn't approved. Lastly, we rename the status task. If the file gets rejected, we want to send the user a message. For that we create a new task block. Task blocks are just empty holes, much like an empty process. To send the message we go to the handler interface and click on Start. Then we select the EPM Notify action handler. As the first argument we enter -recipient and link the process owner, which means the user who initiates the workflow process, as recipient by entering $process_owner in capital letters as value. We then click the Add button on the right side to add a new row. The next argument is -subject to give the mail a title. In this case it should be Your file got rejected. After that we want to add a little text to the message. So we use the argument -comment. And the value Your file $target in capital letters has been rejected. Please read the comments. By writing a $sign in front of a target, we link the process name to the message. To finish the message up, we want to attach the process itself to the message. So we use the argument -attachment with the value $target in capital letters. Lastly, we click on Create to add our Notify handler to the list. Then we connect the Review block and the Notify block. We now have to approve paths from the Review block, so we have to take one of them and change it into a reject path. For that we right-click on the path from Review to the task block and select Set to Reject Path. The line now gets dotted to indicate that the path is a reject path. Then we rename the task block. As the last block we create an OR block. This block gets executed when either of its inputs has been done and connects the process to the finish block. After connecting all blocks, there is only one thing left to do. Since we want the file to either get rejected or approved, we have to remove the pending status we added in the beginning of the process. For that we open the handler interface of the OR block and add an EPM set status handler in the complete section. This handler gets the argument -action with the value delete. and the argument -status with the value pending. It will now delete the status pending from all files in the process. Click on Create to add the action handler to the list and close the window. The simple workflow process template is now finished and can be put online for staff members to use. For that, check the box Set Stage to Available on the left side of the window. Confirm that you want to set the stage to Available, after which you can see that the triangle next to the process template is gone and you cannot edit the template anymore. To edit it, you have to enter edit mode, which will take the template offline and make it unavailable to users. If you need more information on the workflow process, for example how to use the other task, templates and how all the action handlers work, you can consult the following document by Siemens. Teamcenter Rapid Start 11.6 Setting up workflows for product development. You can find it by using this link. We especially want to thank Professor Weidner and Mr. Reinisch from the University of Applied Sciences, Aalen, for their help on the topic of this video. Thank you for watching the last video of our trilogy Line Designer and Teamcenter Manufacturing. For information on how to use Line Designer in NX with Teamcenter, you can watch the first two videos.